Hi, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I'm joined today by Ken Kuiper. Ken, welcome.
Hello, good to be here, Nick. Nice to see you.
It's good to have you on. Ken, before we start, why don't we tell everyone exactly who you are and what you do for a living?
Okay, so I grew up in Toronto and I moved to Vancouver about 15 years ago, and that's where I met you at a local gym called the Pantheon Gym. It's actually some of the closest people I know in Vancouver I met at that gym, and I'm still in contact with today on a regular basis. Actually, one of my business partners, his name's Hugo. I met him at that gym, and we're working together right now.
I know Hugo.
So I came here, and I was working in the mining industry and doing video and aerial mapping with drones and supplying maps and technical drawings for the mining industry. And I did that most of the time I was here, but my true passion has always been in health and fitness. So last few years I became a yoga teacher and also looking for different health alternatives to use. I discovered medicinal mushrooms and functional mushrooms and saw great benefits of them, and wanted to create new products and educate people on the benefits of them. So now I've started a company called OneUp Pure Energy and Absolem Health Corp, which is involved with creating food products with functional mushrooms and technology in extracting the components of the mushroom, bioavailable components and analogs, which could be beneficial to for depression, anxiety, health and fitness, focus. Many different benefits. So that's what I'm involved with right now here in Vancouver.
Okay, so I want to get to your company OneUp in a second, but I want to backtrack for a second. So the mining industry is what brought you out to Vancouver, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, and are you still involved in some capacity in the mining industry, or have you left that industry completely?
I am. I do some consulting.
Okay.
Mostly though, instead of doing all the technical drawings, I'm focused on the drone stuff because that's fun still. So, sometimes I fly down to Vegas and we do aerial video mapping and create 3D models of the topography and take video footage for companies and put together video productions to promote mining companies. So that's the only thing I do for mining right now because it's fun. So I still like to do it.
Right. And now your main focus has shifted to starting your new business. You're an entrepreneur, businessman, CEO. So tell me about OneUp. Tell me about this company and how you launched it, and give me the whole feedback about everything about it.
Sure. Yeah. So I was looking, I was taking a lot of pre-workouts, and I was taking things like ephedrine for my workouts, which is not something, there's a lot of bad press coming out and negative effects that can accumulate with things like that. And a lot of caffeine, and I was looking for healthier alternatives to energize me for my workouts and to be able to focus at work when I'm on the computer.
Right.
So I was ordering greens powder from a website, and they kept advertising these mushrooms, and I'm like, I didn't really think much of it. But then one day I'm like, okay, you know what? This is in my face all the time. I'm going to try it for a month.
Okay.
And if it doesn't do anything, fine, I'll move on. So I started trying these mushrooms. Specifically, there was one called lion's mane mushroom, and lion's mane mushroom, it gives you this tunnel vision focus. In yoga, we call it drishti. It means basically just a tunnel vision focus. Everything's blurred out around you, and you focus on one point in front of you. It's your vision. Okay. And lion's mane helped me with my energy. If I couldn't focus at work, I would take a bunch of this lion's mane mushroom and just tunnel vision focus. It worked. So I started using it for my workouts, lifting weights, and my yoga practice for work. And I just saw the benefits of it. And it was kind of inconvenient. It came in this powder. You had to mix in your tea and coffee. And I thought, how come when you go to the store, you can buy a Red Bull, but you can't get anything healthy that is sustainable and gives you energy? And I thought, I want to make a food product that I could buy in a store. You know, I buy my powders and I mix them, but sometimes it's not convenient. And
Right.
I want stuff when I travel. How come that's not available?
Sure.
So I started this company, OneUp, because I was on a hike and I had taken some mushrooms, and I thought about Mario when he gets the mushroom, and I thought, oh yeah, you get a OneUp, a power up. So I made all these food products, sort of snacks, and I brought them to Wanderlust, the yoga festival at Whistler, and started giving them out to friends and people, going up to people and getting feedback. And people came up to me and said, oh, you got to do this, Ken. This is amazing. Like I had such great results from this. Like, what are these mushrooms? And so that's how that started. And then my friend Hugo, who's a longtime friend of mine, I met him at Pantheon. As I told you, he's a financier. He raises money for startups. So he bought in and bought half the company with his life partner to help me raise money and to start this company and to add different components to it to help grow the company. And we are taking the company public in 6 to 8 weeks on the CSE. It's under Absolem Health Corp. So I'll go into a bit about that. So Absolem Health Corp is the mother company. And under that, we have OneUp, which is the functional food business.
Okay.
And we have Absolem Extraction, which is an extraction company looking to develop a patented extraction method to take these mushrooms and extract different components of them, which are more bioavailable. And, certain parts of the mushroom can help with anxiety or focus. So that's what this company is doing, developing a patent process. And I'm not just talking about magic mushrooms here. People always come up to me, oh yeah, you're talking about magic mushrooms? Oh, if I eat this snack bar, like, how long does it take to kick in? When do I start seeing wizards? I'm like, no, it's not that kind of mushroom. So, but our interest lies in the psilocybin mushrooms as well, because there's a lot of news and positive feedback coming out to helping people with PTSD and anxiety and depression. And Johns Hopkins University got a $17 million investment to build a facility to study and research psilocybin mushrooms. The FDA has come out and said it's the best treatment they've ever seen for treating PTSD and depression. So the tide is changing, and I think psilocybin is going to be legalized in the next couple of years.
I want to ask you, you said it gives you, some of these mushrooms give you energy. So are there any stimulants that you add into the mix for that energy, or does it just come naturally from the mushrooms themselves?
I love coffee, and I love my caffeine still, so sometimes I mix them with coffee. So there's a mushroom called cordyceps mushroom, which helps increase your ATP production. So you bring in more oxygen into your system, and it gives you more higher endurance. And I find it helps, it increases my libido too. Sometimes, I'll take a few spoonfuls of this and I go to the gym and I find my libido increases so much. I gotta get the hell out of there because I'm just getting too horny. So it's a problem sometimes. So, and the lion's mane also, it gives you that focus, but it also gives you energy as well. So I like to combine, the lion's mane with the cordyceps mushroom. And then there's another mushroom called reishi, which sort of is an anti-anxiety. All these mushrooms are called adaptogens. So basically they adapt your body back to homeostasis. So if you're stressed, they'll bring you down. If you're down, they'll bring you up to a normal level. And also these mushrooms have been used in China, Asia, and Eastern Europe for thousands of years. It's just we don't really know about them. People aren't too well educated on them here yet, because in Western culture, we only think something's good until the guy in a lab coat in a lab tells you it's okay.
Right.
So it's still kind of new here.
Well, let me ask you, because you mentioned now, is the product ready to launch now? Like, if someone wanted to go and say, hey, Ken, I want to pick up this up, how would they do that? Or is it ready to go yet or not yet?
Yeah, so we're launching a line of snack bars,
Okay.
which are on the website for the Coho Commissary Kitchen. That's where we make them. It's a commissary kitchen where you work with other businesses making food products. And so they launched this week, and our product is launching on that site. We have rebranded our product, and we have 15 other products in line with Health Canada for natural health product numbers. So
Great.
they will be launched in the summer and later on once we get approval from the Canadian government. But in the meantime, our snack bars have been launched and are ready to go and for sale now. And one thing about these snack bars, they contain a medicinal dose of the mushrooms. So sometimes you'll see some of these products with these medicinal mushrooms, but they just sprinkle a bit of the mushroom in it. It doesn't really give you that medicinal functional dose.
Right.
And that's what our products have. So they give you enough of a dose where you're going to feel it.
Okay.
You're going to notice it.
Yeah.
And yeah, most people do notice it. I find if you're into health and wellness and in touch with your body, then these people usually notice effects from these mushrooms.
Well, you said to me earlier that some people would ask, well, how long does it take to kick in? That's not my question. I'm wondering how long, like you said, it gives you focus and energy. Now, how long does that focus and energy last for after you have one bar?
I find like about 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours.
Okay. And is it hard coming off that, like that focus? If some pre-workouts, for example, you take a pre-workout and then to come down on that pre-workout, it's very hard. Is there any peak in energy levels that go up and down?
No, not at all. You don't really notice it. It just, I guess it just kind of gradually wears off. You don't get tired after. It doesn't seem like there's any negative effects.
Okay.
From these products. It just kind of like it's a very steady peak, and it's like a sort of like flatten the curve type thing. It's not a big bump, it's just a low bump.
Right. So right now you could purchase these off the website directly. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. And are you guys trying to launch these into health stores? Like in Vancouver, British Columbia, we have a supplement store. I'm sure you're familiar with it, called Body Energy. Would that be something that you guys would take to market there eventually?
Absolutely, yeah. We were actually, before this whole lockdown occurred,
right,
we were ready to launch in 2 stores. The Vegan Supply store,
okay,
we were going to launch our product there, but they're closed now. Now they're just doing online. So, and then there's a company there's a grocery store on Commercial Drive we were going to launch in as well. And it just kind of slowed things down. My partner has a contact at Body Energy Club. We definitely want to get into there. But once this whole COVID thing happened, everything just slowed down. I went on EI. My employee went on EI as well,
right,
and kind of like the lights came off. Even though I'm still working on the business here, but
yeah, I actually was going to ask you that is how has COVID-19 affected this? I mean, you guys were ready to launch and everything was good to go. Now everything's obviously been delayed a little bit. Have you been given any timelines as to when things might start moving again, or do you just have to wait until they lift the restrictions on COVID-19?
Yeah, we just have to wait till they lift the restrictions. Things go back to normal. We're still in the background. We're still working to get our company listed. And with that, we'll be able to raise more money. We need some more funds to push our company to get we're creating a new website, and there's all these expenses with packaging and setting up connections and ties and agreements with manufacturers to produce our bars. En masse. Right now we're doing them handmade in this kitchen, and it takes a long time. You can't produce a lot, and it's very expensive, the labor. Whereas once we have the funds in place, we could connect with these manufacturers and they can make them for us. So we're just waiting for this funding, and I think it's going to take a few weeks before everything comes back online before we could do that and have our full product line launched by the end of the summer or early fall.
What's been the most challenging part of starting this business besides COVID-19?
It's all little things like it's getting insurance and getting the approvals from Health Canada. These things with these agencies takes a really long time
Right.
because they're slow to respond and just a lot of red tape. And we were raising money to start this business, and things looked very promising, and then this cannabis crash came, so all the funding dried up, and then we started to get going again, and then COVID came,
Right.
so things dried up again, but we're still pushing forward here.
You've had multiple obstacles.
Yeah.
I know you have a background in mining, but I mean, is anyone helping you besides Hugo with the financing and backing of this project, guiding you through this? Like, I mean, if I were to start my own supplement line, for example, I would be lost. I would have no idea who to go to, who to talk to. I mean, how have you found those connections? Have you done this on your own, or how'd that come about?
Yeah, it's pretty tough actually, and I get frustrated with it. So our plan was, to build a team and people with experience in manufacturing and co-packing, and I did hire a lady, and she is our VP of formulation. So she's formulating all the formulations. She's a herbalist with a degree and many years of experience in this field. So she's doing a lot of this work. But in terms of, okay, how do I do this? How do I mass produce this? And how do I get these approvals and licenses? It's like, yeah, a lot of this, it takes a long time because I'm like, shit, like I sit at home and or in the office trying to figure these things out. And I wish I had someone. I'm trying to find someone, to help me who has all this experience, but it's been tough. It's just a learning process as I go.
Well, yeah, and I mean, especially during this time, like you said, everything has kind of come to a screeching halt, and it's really hard to get things moving, like in any industry right now. So, especially when you're starting to get into a new industry. But give me an idea. 5 years down the line from now, what's your hope for this company? Are you guys going to be worldwide, or are you guys going to focus just on North America?
Yeah, I'm a big goal guy. I write down my goals, and this idea came to me. It's this summer, it'll be 2 years. And I remember when I came up with the idea, I wrote in my notebook, within 5 years, this will be a $100 million company. Right. So we're 2 years into it. So that's the goal in 5 years. And we want to make our manufacturing ties in the US. Okay. So that way we can launch and go straight to Amazon in the US and just import our goods into Canada. And that's because that's where the big market is. And yeah, we'd like to go worldwide. That's always the goal, go as big as possible. Right. And if I want to get to that $100 million mark, then I definitely have to do that. I think Vancouver. And
I've known you for a long time, so I know you when you put your mind to something. I mean, you've been very successful in other ventures. So I mean, I have full faith that you could probably take this to even maybe more than that. But that's one thing I wanted to ask you too, because you and I go back, like you said, probably about 15 years. When I first met you, you were really into the gym scene, the bodybuilding scene. You were into lifting weights, and that's kind of transformed now. You've kind of changed up your training more towards like a yoga. I mean, your Instagram is Zen Ken. When did you make that transition from the heavy bodybuilder lifestyle, the lifting weights, and guys like me, and now all of a sudden I see you doing yoga mats and all this other stuff with yoga? Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's a good story actually. Well, I got into bodybuilding when I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator 2. I was like 14 years old, and I saw him. I'm like, I want to be like Arnold. What's the thing I would say? I'm a cybernetic organism, human living tissue of a metal endoskeleton. So I was always into bodybuilding after that, and worked out for years, and even when I moved here. But the reason I got into yoga was I was married here in Vancouver, and I got divorced, right. And I got really depressed, and I was very stressed out. And so I went to a hot yoga class, and the stress was gone. It was so challenging. I couldn't even think. My thoughts were turned off because I was so in the moment. And when I left, the endorphin rush was just great. So I felt amazing. And so I continued. Bodybuilding was still my main passion, but I still did a few hot yoga classes every week. And then a few years ago, I decided, well, I want to do my yoga teacher training to learn about a bit more about yoga. And at the time, bodybuilding was still my passion, and yoga was just pure health and fitness for me.
Okay.
And I took this yoga teacher training, and there were different things. You had to take these workshops like chanting, where you're chanting Om in a big room full of people for 30 minutes, and doing Kundalini, which is really weird. You got to dance around and move your arms and dance. It's like, I don't want to dance or sing. Like, that's going to make me so uncomfortable. It's so weird. I'm just here to stretch and do these poses.
Right. Okay.
And, but something happened when I did these things, like the chanting, for instance, or the Kundalini. Something happened in my body, like in my consciousness. For one thing, the chanting thing, it made me feel so high and so good, and it helped me. And I connected with the community, which was a really cool community, the yoga community, and the Kundalini, which I was very uncomfortable with. I remember we did Kundalini for 2 hours, and I came home and I was so exhausted and depressed. I laid in bed for 3 hours. I couldn't move, and I didn't understand why I felt like this. But what I learned was the yoga that I did brought up some deep emotions out of my body.
Oh, okay.
And that's why I felt like that. And when after 3 hours I came out of it, I'm like, holy shit, this yoga is much more than just stretching and fitness. There's way more to this. Okay. And then that changed my whole perspective on yoga, and I kind of went deeper into it. And I didn't believe in God. I wasn't a spiritual person. And then after this experience, I became spiritual, not believing in like a God this guy who sits on a throne, but right. Something more along the lines of the universe. There's something bigger than us out there, and we're all connected in this one consciousness. And there's more of a reason for us all being here. So, right. In that respect, and and then the Zen Ken, a friend of mine, he saw that I was doing yoga, and he started calling me Zen Ken.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of like that. And I've had problems with anger in the past, anger issues, and so I thought, okay, well, that's not bad. If I'm called Zen Ken, I really got to work hard to live up to this. I can't lose my shit. I got to be Zen Ken all the time. It's a good name to live up to.
Well, it's funny because every time I talk to you, you're always in a good, positive mood. You seem to always be in a very, very positive state. But I remember when you and I first met, like I said, you were into the bodybuilding scene. You and I both come from a bodybuilding background. That gym that you referred to, Pantheon, that was a bodybuilder's gym. You and I did a few workouts together. And then all of a sudden, I think a few years later, I see you on Instagram doing all these yoga moves. I'm like, what's happening here? So are you still training? I mean, you're obviously still training with weights, I can tell by your physique, but are you still following like a bodybuilding training split on the side? Or what are you doing weight-wise in the gym?
Yeah, before COVID, I was still going to the gym.
Right.
And, I love to do my squats, and I love my my bench press, and there's certain exercises, and I love to keep up my physique, sure. Sort of the more of a bodybuilder physique, but I'm more focused on yoga now. I'm working on things like handstands, and so I practice a lot of that. And now with COVID at home, I use the kettlebell a lot, and I'm not doing like I used to train heavy, low reps, but now I'm more focused. It's not as important to me as the yoga, and I'll still always do the weights and the kettlebell, but I'm just doing higher reps, lower weights. I'm not pushing myself to exhaustion and to failure anymore. But I'm always going to enjoy it. It's always going to be a part of my life.
Right. Did your diet change when you transitioned from training heavy as opposed to now when you're doing more yoga, more functional training?
No, my diet though is still the same. If I want to try to gain weight, which is really hard for my size because I'm 6'7", it was a lot easier back in the day, but now it's just exhausting to try to eat enough to put muscle on this frame. So I'm not doing that anymore. But no, my diet's the same. A few years ago, I switched to intermittent fasting.
Okay. And
I was always trying to get leaner. I didn't have the six-pack. Even though I was training all the time and I was doing lots of cardio, and nutrition's always been a passion of mine. So I was always trying to learn new things and looking at the new science and trying different diets. Like, how come my six pack doesn't go out? What's going on? And it wasn't until I discovered intermittent fasting probably about 6 years ago, where then I really started, all of a sudden, I started to burn off all this fat and I started getting more muscle definition, and my six pack started to come out, and more vascular. And so then I kind of stuck to that routine now. And now it's more, I'm just high protein, low carb. And then, you know, I have a cheat day once in a while. My favorite cheat meal is, I like to have 6 donuts from Tim Hortons, and probably a burger or a large pizza.
Well, you're a big guy. You're like me. You need to have a big cheat meal to really be satisfied.
Yeah.
Let me ask you though, go back to the intermittent fasting. When you would do that, are you fasting for a good like 12 to 16 hours, or how long would you fast for before you break that fast?
Lately, it's probably like 12 to 14 hours.
Yeah.
And it depends what my training is going to be. Lately, I've been training in the mornings, and then I like to eat something like shortly after my workout. But sometimes it's, I guess on average, it's 14 to 16 hours. And then some days, if I'm not training, or say I had a big cheat meal and I was eating a lot, or I'm traveling, then sometimes I fast for 20 hours. And sometimes I like to push myself to like 24, 30 hours, just because it feels good sometimes to do that. And I feel it's, there's health benefits that come with it. So I like to just throw it in once in a blue moon.
You've taken a very holistic approach to both your diet and your training. Do you think this is what led you to start OneUp, your company?
Yeah, it has. Like I said, it's always been my passion. So that's kind of what's led me to it. And you know, people always ask me, "Oh, Ken, you know, how should I be working out? What should I be eating?" And so I'm like, "Oh, you know, people want to hear what I have to say. So I want to provide these benefits to everyone else, and maybe through this food product company, I can do this." And not only share the food and the benefits of these supplements, but also my ideas and, you know, the questions people are always asking me, and my way of life. And if I could share that story and help people, that's what it's really all about, is helping people become their best selves.
That's fantastic. Now, I know how COVID-19 has obviously affected you on a business scale, but on a personal scale, how's it affected and impacted your life right now?
Well, I was actually getting married on April 11th. My fiance, she lives in Thailand, so the wedding was planned for April 11th. Flight was canceled. All this started happening, so that's delayed. She was supposed to move here, so now we don't know when that's going to happen. And now I've been self-isolated for probably like 4 or 5 weeks now. I go out to get groceries. That's pretty much all I do. Sometimes I go for a walk. And it's actually the one thing I'm actually every day I'm very grateful for this time in one respect, because I'm forming a lot of new good habits.
Okay.
I always meditate, and I have a practice. Usually I try to do about 20 minutes a day, but lately, since the last 2 weeks, I've been doing an hour a day.
Sure.
Just, you know, I'm gonna see what happens if I do an hour a day.
Yeah.
And I'll do my training with my home workout with the kettlebells at home, and some yoga.
Right.
And I'm cooking a lot more, learning to cook new things. So yeah, there's a lot of great parts of it. And you know, with my business, before I had to work on 10 things a day. I was in a rush, taking phone calls, meeting people. But now I actually get to sit down and focus and, you know, do 1 or 2 things a day. And if I don't get it done, it's okay. There's always the next day. I'm not in a rush anymore. Yeah. So that's all great. But at the same time, I on the surface, I feel great, and I think I'm doing okay. But then deep down inside, I don't know, like it's, I feel something's off. Maybe it's because I haven't touched another human being in six weeks. And, you know, I'm in here and it's sunny outside. Like, I'm not 100% like happy and perfect.
Sure. Well, I think it's interesting because a lot of people tend to pick up bad habits during this time, whereas you picked up good habits. You know, here in Vancouver, we have liquor sales up by 40% right now. So
Wow.
it's not a good habit to pick up. So you've been able to stay in somewhat of a positive mindset. How's your fiance doing? I mean, she's halfway around the world.
Yeah, she's doing great too. She's very positive. And if I have a bad day, she's great. She lifts up my spirits.
Right.
She's always positive, never negative. And in Bangkok, they're isolated as well, but she lives with her family and she has a lot of family there. So family is a very important thing in their culture. So she keeps herself busy and entertained. Before this, she said she had never not worked in her life. So she was pretty stressed out about it. But I think now she's sort of settled into the routine and just waiting for it to be over. But she's doing good. She's doing good.
What does she do for work?
She works in e-commerce. She has her MBA. Yeah. And she's worked for big companies in Asia like Shopee, Tencent, and you know, they're just big corporations, and she works in the marketing departments at a higher level in those companies. So I think her skills will be very transferable over here in Canada.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you said you were supposed to get married April 11th. So when were you planning to go out there prior to COVID?
April 8th, I was going to go out there, and you know, normally I'd stay there a longer period of time, but I was just going to be there 10 days and then bring her back with me because I've been so busy with this business now. So yeah,
so at that point we were already in lockdown. You wouldn't have been able to fly out there anyway.
No, they canceled my ticket like 2 weeks before. Like I was waiting, and then I got the notice from Cathay Pacific. They're like, no, your ticket's canceled, you're getting a refund. I'm like, oh shit.
Well, if you had already been out there, and I was talking to my brother about this earlier, because my brother actually lives in Thailand, and before they announced COVID-19, everyone needs to come back to Canada, he said to me, he's like, you know what, I'm going to stay in Thailand. I feel safe here, I feel good. Would you have stayed in Thailand if Canada had said, hey, come back home, if you were there at that point?
I'd come back home just because I don't have insurance there. And yeah, that was the one thing. I want to be there, but it's the whole insurance thing. What if I get sick? Like, how much is it going to cost me to go to a hospital there to be put on a ventilator? Like, I don't know, maybe 10 grand or something. Who knows?
Right.
So yeah, you need the security of our insurance here to protect us.
In your opinion, right now, how do you think the Canadian government is handling the COVID crisis?
Yeah, I guess they're doing the best they can. A lot of people say they should have done something sooner.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people are telling me that, how come, you know, actually I have two friends who are numbers guys, and they've been telling me this since January and December that this is going to happen. And so I think, okay, well, you know, if these guys knew about this, you know, and I was stocking up like weeks before everyone else was stocking up because they kept telling me, you know, you better buy toilet paper and all this stuff because
you're one of those guys.
So I'm like, okay. So I kept going to Costco before shit hit the fan. And I'm like, if these guys knew what was going on, how come the government didn't know how come they weren't prepared for this?
Right.
So you know, I try not to question it too much, but that's the only thing I wonder about. Like, you know, how come they didn't know?
There's a lot of theories out there right now. And I think, like I said, you got to be careful as to what you say because it could go either way right now. So I think once the dust is settled, we'll know more. On to a lighter note. I was talking to you about this earlier, and something I find really interesting about you is that you actually make your own kombucha, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How and why?
Well, you know, I got into kombucha, and that has great benefits as well. You know, it has probiotics, which help you become happier because 80% of your serotonin is produced through your gut bacteria.
Yes.
And serotonin is your happy drug.
Right.
And so kombucha helps with that, with your gut bacteria, and you know, your overall health becomes better, you become happier. And I was buying kombucha, and it was pretty expensive at the time, and I had a big kombucha habit. I was spending $10 a day on kombucha. So I thought, okay, I heard you can make your own. I started making my own, and this was another business idea I had. I was going to start a business that delivered kombucha to people's homes, like the old milkman back in the day.
Yeah.
And then, so, you know, you could drop off the bottles, pick up bottles. But then, you know, kombucha, it started exploding. There were so many companies producing it, and the logistics were very difficult, and I kind of moved on from that idea. But I continue making it at home, and I have a batch. I got a bottle today, actually.
Okay.
And it's fun to do as well, and you can make your own flavors, and it tastes well. I really like Rise kombucha. I can't quite get to their level, but you can make some good flavors at home. And
is it difficult to make?
no, it's pretty easy. Once you learn how to do it, you get this thing called a SCOBY. It's kind of like this mushroom thingy that you put in tea mixed with sugar, and it ferments it and creates the bubbles, and then you bottle it and flavor it. And it's, yeah, once you get into it, it becomes pretty easy. I spend probably every couple of weeks, maybe an hour working on it. And then I have, you know, my fridge is stocked with bottles of kombucha.
You're good to go.
Yeah.
Do you think it would be ever be something you'd add into your OneUp company down the road, or is it just doesn't make sense to compete in that market?
Yeah, you know, nothing's ever off the table with me. So it's, yeah, that's a possibility.
Cool. Ken, before I let you go, I want you to let people know if someone wants to get in contact with you with regards to OneUp, and maybe they want to invest in the company, if you guys are taking investors on. I don't know if you are looking for investors, or if you're looking just to, you know, purchase anything from your product line. What would be the best way to do that?
Yeah, we are taking on investors. We'll be doing a finance round starting at the end of this week. Okay. And they could contact me at info@absolemhealth.com.
Okay. And what about as far as purchasing those bars?
The bars, they go to Coho Commissary, and maybe you could share the link. Yeah. And it's so it's a commissary website. There's other products on there, and our product is there. If you search for OneUp or go in the snack section, then you'll see our different bars there. We have different formulations, so we kind of went, you know, we have a male formulation which has tribulus, pine pollen, and a female version which has different herbs for females which balance their hormones, and you know, a rebound bar which has cordyceps, which gives you energy, and different formulations for different tasks or people.
Now that's really interesting. I didn't know this. So some of these bars can actually help balance your hormones. You mentioned,
that's right, yeah.
You mentioned tribulus in the bar for the men. Is that correct?
Yeah, tribulus, pine pollen, and cordyceps.
Oh wow!
So it's kind of like a libido enhancing energizer for men.
I was gonna say that could be why you were feeling horny in the gym. The tribulus. Yeah. Wow. Oh, I'll have to definitely. Yeah. I'm gonna put a link to that website in the description to this video. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on and tell us about your company, OneUp. I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see it launch. It's going to be on the Canadian Stock Exchange, you said in May, is that correct?
Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks we're aiming for.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. So probably more like June.
Excellent, great. Ken, big things coming your way, as always.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. It's great to talk to you.
Always great to talk to you. I wanted to ask you, too, how long are you going to grow that hair? It's looking longer.
Well, until a lot of people are asking about it, until the barbershop reopens. But I'm excited to see what happens. And my hair kind of grows out like this. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I want to see what happens after 2 months of no haircut. Am I going to be some mad scientist? Like,
you can pull it off. You know, you've got that look. Robin was saying that when she saw a photo of you, she said, Ken can pull that look off. She says, most guys can. Like me, I definitely couldn't pull that off. My head's way too big. But yeah, it looks good on you. I mean.
Okay, good. Thanks, man.
Keep going with it. Just grow it out. See what happens.
I will.
Ken, I want to thank you so much for coming by today. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And once the company's up and running for everything, I want you to come back on and tell us more. Okay?
Awesome, man. It'll be a pleasure.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ken. And you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Nick. You too.
Have a great one, Ken. See you later on. Thanks so much.